Welcome to the Damn Good Podcast on Culture. We have a different backdrop, as you can see. Doesn't suit Subha very well, but it's there.
Water and me. Anyway, that's an episode by itself.
Yeah, or a season, perhaps. Yes.
The different water bodies that have rejected me. That's a season by itself. But
Bathtubs.
yeah,
Bathtubs are involved, I'm just saying.
bathtubs, jacuzzis, pool, beaches.
Lakes, ponds.
Sorry, one day or never.
And also just the whole, I don't know, like there's a different backdrop, there's a different placement of us. And it's just, I think sometimes we don't acknowledge how overwhelming it is to be on video or, on
Yeah.
camera. And so much appreciation for the Daily Show hosts.
For anybody who just, even all these YouTubers who just,
Yeah.
they just appear day in and day out. And I liked what I was hearing Dax say on his podcast, that the reason he's resisted video is so that his guests, especially the women celebs, don't feel the pressure to look good, dress well, touch up their makeup. And
Yeah,
that's a huge part of
yeah. And
culture.
yeah, I think there's still that general discomfort of just being on video for the first time in God knows how many years, right? And it's just, is the lighting okay? Am I doing weird things?
Correct.
You don't know. You're so conscious all
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
True, true.
But this episode is not about video. This episode is about storytelling.
So, storytelling, it's interesting. Like Instagram, which we all spend half our lives on, apparently. So I saw a post today, and you know which one. And I would normally have not read the story
Yeah.
because the image was captivating enough. And the image was of an astronaut free floating in space, right? And you see the Earth's horizon, and he's just there. I was staring at it for like 10 seconds, like, wow. I mean, did he have a panic attack? Like, did he like how do you just
I like how the context of the episode has changed, but the floating references and panic attacks have still not. They're still intact.
we go for common threads. So then I read the story, and it was actually more about
It was a good story.
yeah, it was a good story. So I
I just feel like if I can get through it without laughing, I shall
Please.
try.
Please try.
The post opens with, "It may have been one small step for Neil, the Armstrong, but it's a heck of a big leap for me." Quote unquote, Bruce McCandless the second, the guy who's free floating in space.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
It's posted by NASA. And the interesting thing about the story is that it's actually not about him. It's about the other guy who took the photo, right?
Because apparently there is a photography class for astronauts where they teach you how to take good pictures of the horizon. The goddamn horizon.
And I was so desperate to see the bad picture that he took. Like, how do you get the Earth's horizon to look bad and feel bad that it doesn't look good enough? I mean, come on. And apparently, it's all about the angle. So you tilt the camera so that the horizon is at the bottom 1/3 of the image, as he says. And then there's the free floating astronaut above that. But the storytelling, that it was really about the other person who had no other job but to take pictures. Uh, I'm sure he had something else to do. I mean,
at that point, he didn't have anything else to do. It's not that he was joblessly sent to space. No.
Yeah. So it's so important, because otherwise this image is a great image. I mean, after lots of classes, but it's a great image.
But it's not one heck of a leap for mankind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the moment I saw that picture, Subha, I felt like, isn't that what we are doing? Like, that was my first philosophical reaction, right? Like I said, oh, look at us throwing everything up in the air and doing this completely. And then I realized this guy is floating in space. He's literally a one-way ticket if you don't know what you're doing. And here I am comparing the changing of my podcast category.
Maybe we should show the picture for the enormity of
Yeah.
the difference between
There.
that and us. Yeah, so
You can see the production quality on this. particular.
No, but what's interesting in the storytelling is that that was actually a test run,
Mm.
which is why that panic attack thought came. Like, this guy is testing whether he can float in space, whether the machinery works,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And whether he can maneuver himself back to the ship. And
And
that's one heck
imagine
of a
testing for
test.
that.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
seriously, hats off. Oh.
No, and it explains like the some quantum of lived experience 40 years ago was that. And now we are like, hey, my podcast has changed categories. That explains the, some of the recent innovations that we've been making, such as banning Gobi Manchurian in Goa. Like that's the lowest common denominator now, right? I mean,
Mankind, yeah, space
all of
to
us.
too many colors in Gobi Manchurian,
Yeah, yeah.
right? That's
And
the
Rinse
problem.
Supreme apparently.
What?
Yeah, yeah, detergent was involved. So, but my question is,
But I've
was it
eaten a
only
lot of Gobi Manchurian in Goa. Like,
maybe it improved your digestion?
ouch.
But yeah, and in that context, you're constantly thinking about what will appeal to the audience, right? And you're constantly, and it's not enough anymore. So I turned my Instagram profile public recently, and I realized it's not that Instagram is suddenly going to bless you with reach. I think for the first 24 hours, some random people saw my stories and it was very unsettling. But
Yeah.
after that, the same people who are forever
Yeah.
exposed to my content are exposed now also.
Correct.
It's not that anything much is changing in their lives, right? And
Correct.
apparently, I'm probably showing up on people you should also follow, which are also people I know, by the way. Like that is the sum total. And imagine trying to reach like 100,000 people.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And still we have examples of people who've done it so well. Like, I think we both enjoy Trevor Noah's podcast so much. What
Yeah.
now? If you haven't yet heard it, you're in for a treat. It's amazing because of the storytelling,
No,
right?
really, really. I think, I mean, we all know him as an intelligent human being and hence an intelligent comedian, but the conversations are honestly at a different level.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? They are genuinely conversations. They're not interviews.
I
Right?
mean, you think about it, like an interview with Sam Altman is followed by an interview with Tristan Harris. And now these are two people who are advocating for two very different things in the
Yeah.
world of technology.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think that someone like Trevor would have an opinion on technology. And the good thing is he doesn't try to also.
Correct.
He sticks to what he knows and asks the common questions that people like you and me have.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the conversation so enriching.
I think he did a fabulous job at the Grammys. And the episode that he's done now, which is a BTS of him hosting the Grammys, the storytelling there, it makes you feel like you were in the room.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And you want to hear, and you want to hear those little tidbits and what goes into doing something so live and so grand.
Yeah, yeah.
And you goof up and
It's
people
there
won't.
on the internet
Yeah,
forever,
you're
right?
not forgiven.
Especially if you goof up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not forgiven till the next goof up
Yeah.
of someone else famous.
Yeah. And also, for example, this is not the first time Spotify is collaborating with a celebrity. In fact, they've tried to do it with much bigger, personalities in that sense, people with potentially a wider reach. But clearly, after one season, it didn't work for them because they had to give up. Like our favorite two royals. Are they still royal? I
No,
don't
they're
know.
not.
They're not?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Apparently, they're not royal anymore. But we've had, Michelle Obama. We've had so many people trying to capture the reach. And then finally, the guy who gets it right is a guy who already knows how to tell good stories on
Yeah.
other media and other platforms.
And that's really why I like Julia Louis Dreyfus's podcast, Wiser Than Me. She chose a niche. I mean, obviously, she's again an amazing actress, comic, her comic timing, her just presence is quite on this quite bang on for whatever scene she's in. But the storytelling in that podcast, which again was Apple's podcast of the year, and because of that, probably she's back for a season 2. How she won the niche. She chose women who are older than her and have led such amazing lives, like a Jane Fonda, and have stories to tell. And how she connected it to her own lived experience and extracted even better stories from them. It's so beautifully done that then you really feel like you've also experienced some of it.
Yeah. And I'm maybe thinking that the only way to really understand it is to have that experience yourself. I mean, so many storytelling coaches and experts do
Hmm.
fail in communicating what exactly is storytelling, because it's how do you describe the experience of sharing in something common? It has to be felt, right? Like it's not something I could forever keep articulating. And it also reminded me of why some series again on a lot of OTT platforms, and you'd think that with the kind of budget, the kind of star power that the directors, the actors have, they could really work. And one of those shows that I was really excited about was the Indian Police Force. I thought it could be such an amazing combination of action and story. And I was excited to see Vivek Oberoi again on screen after a while, because he is a good actor for what it's worth. And it was just such a letdown on every level. Like the story falls flat, there is no connectivity. Even a child can spot, continuity errors and issues in that storytelling. People are just standing around doing nothing. And you realize Spotify finally did something right in getting Trevor Noah. And that's the kind of business insight I think we're always hoping for, which is to say that let the master do his thing, right? And a lot of directors who are now, and we have Sanjay Leela Bhansali's Hira Mandi coming up, for which I'm not that excited anymore because it already looks too larger than life.
It's not an, it like, can OTT hold something so large?
So grand, right?
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, is it not nicer for people to perfect their own, art and science? But at the same time, you want them to push boundaries as well, right? You want them to try new
Correct.
things and other things and express the sum total of who they are.
Correct. No, I mean, yeah, they have to try. Um, and I think also even creators are today okay to say I tried, but I'm not going to redo this because
Yeah,
it's not my thing.
yeah, yeah.
It's not been received as well as I thought it would be, or it's not my jam. So that then that's fine. But speaking of OTT, how so much of what we consume informs us of that society or that culture, and so I think just naturally we end up watching a lot of US based
Yeah.
police procedurals, crime shows, etc. And recently I ended up watching two, like one British police procedural, that's Criminal Record on Apple. It's still going on, and another Swedish kind of crime thriller called Nearly a Normal Family. And it reminds you that there's just so many different ways of things happening around the world. Like we're so tuned to either that Indian police station where you hang the guy upside down and beat the truth out of him, which is the narrative you see, or the American one, which has a certain, machoism to it, and let's get this done, and let's strike a deal, and let's get,
Things moving.
yeah, just keep things moving. And usually there's just a lot of guns involved.
Yeah.
Right. And I was watching the British one, and what struck me first is that when that cop went into that apartment complex or that alley, she didn't have a gun. So she couldn't do what we've now got used to as the easiest thing is they pull out a gun and they shoot the guy, right? And the Swedish one, just the pace of it. And the courtroom was a small kind of wood paneled room. Actually felt looked cozy. It looked and people were polite and they were having a conversation, and
Interesting.
I'm sure it says a lot about that culture.
Must be on some
Right?
level a reflection, right?
Yeah.
Like, while it may not be, like you said, the upside down level accuracy, it's not very accurate in terms of the portrayal of a typical Indian police station.
Yeah.
But it paints a picture, which is what
Correct.
finally a story is supposed to do.
Yeah. And I think it's important now, I'm realizing, to also consume that diversity. No, otherwise you're just seeing kind of two versions of the world if you don't make it intentional.
Because that's what, right? Like, what itself is culture. I don't think it can be captured in any one definition, but a lot of cultural anthropologists and historians agree that is the intersection of different perspectives. It's not the perspective itself, but how my perspective overlaps with yours and creates a completely new understanding of the world.
I think we're all craving it. I think after the pandemic, obviously the K drama culture. Then we heard, thanks to I think Shweta Bachchan, we heard that there are Turkish dramas to be seen.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law was telling me there are Chinese dramas which are really nice, and now you have quite a bit of East European stuff which you can watch on OTT, and I mean, it's a way of being there without being there.
Hmm. And it's interesting you bring that up. Maybe crisis does catalyze a
Mm.
cultural shift, perhaps, because in Bangalore alone, I think two cultural centers have opened up, which is one is BIC
Mm.
and the other you have MEP, the Museum of Art and
Mm.
Photography. Like I would have never imagined a museum for art and photography in and of
Correct.
itself in India,
Yeah.
but that has happened. We've had the opening of NMACC in Bombay.
Bombay.
Maybe they've been, in the works for a while, but this feels like the right time somehow to go listen to some poetry,
Yeah.
or just do something that you don't do on an everyday basis.
And also, a lot of us are willing to go and see unknown
Yeah.
names, acts, events. It doesn't have to be something that somebody's already vouched for. So we're willing to experiment. I think a lot of stuff which happens in BIC and also thankfully in Bombay are new artists,
Yeah.
upcoming artists.
Yeah.
And they're given a space and they're able to slowly start generating an audience of their own.
Yeah. And maybe that's the good side of, being such an interconnected world,
Yeah.
is that maybe you don't have that one giant leap,
Right.
once every 40 years.
Right.
But everyone has a chance. It's a very democratic leap, if I could, like, maybe as a humankind, that's how you move forward. And it's a bit messy. It involves the banning of certain foods from time to time for detergent reasons. But maybe, moving as a collective is not the same process as moving as, as moving as one organization or one
Mm.
group of people, perhaps.
Yeah, but the stories that come out are worth it if told well, obviously.
I wonder what people will say about this period of time 40 years from now. Like, what would be that one horizon picture?
Maybe it's the Vision Pro.
I hope not. Please, people are using it in toilets apparently. No, I hope the Vision Pro is not the defining image of our lives.
So in that conversation, Trevor says that he was sent a Vision Pro, and a couple of his friends were also sent a Vision Pro, and it was actually in the context of Jay-Z, Beyonce, and she's got everything, but she's not got Best Album of the Year,
Oh.
right? And Jay-Z called it out, and this whole as a race or as humankind, you can have everything. But if there's that one thing you don't have, then you end up focusing on that. Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
And so he said, three of us got the Vision Pro, and the first conversation we had was, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm actually like standing on the moon. I feel like I'm on the moon, this, that, etc. And he said the same friend I called back an hour later, and he says, this thing is a little heavy. And Trevor's reaction is, dude, an hour ago, you were on the moon.
Yeah,
Right? You felt like you were on the moon. And now it's a little heavy. Like, that's what's missing in your life, that little lightness. I mean,
Yeah.
you were on the moon, but that's how we all are, no? We all look and
Look for the
find.
next big thing, the next thing that I think or we think will make us.
And then we find that little thing which it's not doing perfectly.
Yeah, of course, all the time. Yeah. I'm sure after this, when we listen to this episode again and we have to upload it, we'll find 100 reasons to hate it.
So we have to listen and watch again?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to.
Okay. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. How's the conversation going? And what do you think will be the most defining picture of our generation? Tell us.
Yeah, why don't you send us the image of what you think we will look like 40 years from now.
Not we.
No,
Like
like
humanity. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.